A recorded video now and kind of show you my process of doing a digital caricature. My subjects are Prince William and Princess Kate. This is their wedding photos, or from their wedding photo, one of their wedding photos. And The reason why I chose this subject is because when I do commissions, I do a lot of wedding, either proposals or for weddings, and I figured it would be a good idea to have a wedding themed caricature. So that's what I'm going to do right now, and I'm going to start with Prince William. Now his face is more distinct than hers. This is his face right here, and then this is Princess Kate's. And, you know, she has a very symmetrical face. There are some things in it that I can kind of pull out and exaggerate, but not nearly as much as Prince William. I don't know if I could say this across the board and make a dogmatic statement, but by and large, guys are more fun to draw than girls. That's just the way it is. Maybe there's more features to kind of play with in general. There's more angles. Guys tend to have stronger features in general. So I'm just going to go in here on my sketch layer, and I'm going to start doing trying to figure out head shape. And I may have discussed this in the last video that I did a few months ago. It's already been a few months. It's hard to believe, about head shape. And this is more exaggerated than what I would normally do at, say, if I was working at Disney or at the parks or whatever, or resorts. I would definitely not go as exaggerated as this, because you tend to wind up hurting people's feelings, and I do plan on using this for promotional reasons, putting it on Etsy to kind of give people an idea of what I can do. So I'm not gonna go crazy like I'm doing right now, and really super exaggerate what I see going on in his face. I'm going to be doing a more tame version. This would be more just for kicks and giggles, if I decided to just amuse myself while I'm binge watching some show, sitting on the sofa sketching or whatever. I can draw and amuse myself like this and be like, oh my gosh, let's see how far I can push this, and exaggerate and whatnot. But his head is more longer than it is wide, so I'm going to be doing that in general. So I'm going to be kind of doing like an in-between, not necessarily a portrait, but not necessarily like a super exaggerated caricature either. So bear with me here while I get my grounding, figure out where I'm going to go with this. He's got a substantial forehead, pretty pointy chin. I feel like his smile and his mouth kind of dominates his face. So, and that smile kind of goes off to the side a little bit like that. Definitely gonna play with that a little bit. The tip of his nose is fairly close to his upper lip. I'm going to focus on that. Bridge of the nose kind of goes out a little bit at the top, and his eyes are fairly close together. So that's something else I'm going to focus on as well. You have these conversations in your head while you're drawing. If anything doesn't quite look right, or you're missing the likeness, then you just go back and say, well, what about this did I miss? Did I not see? What can I tweak? So much of caricature is just kind of learning as you go along. And the more you do it, I don't want to say the easier it gets, but the more instincts come out to where you don't have to overthink things as much. You just kind of let your visual instincts take over. Now it's kind of hard because I'm going to have to zoom in if I'm going to get too detailed with the face. I want you guys to be able to see as well, so think about the direction of where the eyebrows are, of which direction the eyebrows go when they smile. Everybody has a different way of smiling, and it affects their face in different ways. I have a pretty full face, so like my cheeks are like chipmunk cheeks. When I smile, they go out pretty far. And sometimes the smile really doesn't affect the face too much, except for the eyes. The eyes are usually what gets affected by smiles the most. They tend to squint a little bit, which is generally the reason why in most official portraits of statesmen, presidents, aristocrats, whatever, generally they'll have what I guess kind of be known as a Mona Lisa smile, where it's very slight. There's not really a whole lot of teeth involved in the smile. It's just kind of a contented smile, I guess you could say. And it that way that the eyes don't get scrunched up like they do in a normal smile. Figuring out where the irises go, it's all a big deal. Might have made that too big. I find that people are more receptive of the Mort Drucker, Jack Davis style of caricature than anything else, because they kind of really didn't do like really strong caricatures. They just did more like what they call portraitures, which is kind of a combination of a portrait and a caricature. Just exaggerated enough to lend some humor to the picture, but not enough to really insult somebody or go for the jugular. But sometimes even that's too much for some. It just depends on your audience. I don't really draw all of the teeth. Not all the time. In fact, I'd probably go back and just take out even some of those lines. But I just want to suggest that the teeth are there. And when I go back in and I color, it'll definitely visually read more as teeth. Anytime you add value, which is shading or anything like that to a picture, it lends itself to more visual information. And sometimes a likeness will come out even more after the coloring and the values are in place. And the sketching stage, you'd be like, I don't know about that. And then when you color, you're like, oh, okay, I see it now. So much of our visual perception is based on light and shadows, and it brings out the structure of the face more, I guess. I apologize for the tapping noise. That's my pencil on the screen. If you hear that tapping, it sounds like a little woodpecker. That's That's the plastic pen tip that's on the Apple Pencil that I'm using. Yeah, I need to make that forehead a little higher. I'm being too generous with him now. Being too kind. That hairline is a little bit higher. This is an old picture. I think he's actually lost more hair since this picture was taken. And if any of you are wondering why I'm playing classical music, this could have been the reason why the video wasn't working when I tried to do a live stream. Facebook has gotten on to me about playing music in the background that's under copyright restrictions. You know, I didn't think about it until they warned me about it, and I spent some part of the day trying to find royalty-free music that I could play in the background that doesn't sound too invasive, and I just couldn't find any. So I just pulled out some of the classical stuff and decided on playing it. I know it's sleepy music, but that's okay. If you want to fall asleep during this, you know, it has its benefits. Kind of like watching a Bob Ross episode, I guess. I suppose. I get a lot of people asking me if I prefer to do digital over traditional, meaning, you know, real pen, real paper, over drawing on a computer screen. And I like traditional, I really do. I like the way it feels, I like the control I have. You know, there's a certain amount of control that you have on digital that you don't have with traditional, meaning that I can go back and delete something, you know, at the blink of an eye if I don't like it. Like, you know, if I want to make this a little bit wider, you know, I have the ability to do that. But if I'm on regular paper with pen and ink, whatever I put down, unless I got some white out with me, that's just the way it is. And it was encouraging to know and realize when I saw some original artwork by some comic book artists and stuff like that. They do use whiteout. You know, they do make mistakes, which is hard to believe. When you see the finished product, you know, it looks perfect. But that's because they're scanned in and all that stuff doesn't show up. I felt like those eyes needed to be a little bit closer together. Now, another decision that you have to make is, what are you going to do about the neck? There are some artists out there, you know, they'll do the head and whatnot, and they'll make the neck somewhat, you know, proportional to the picture. All right? I get a different color so you can see it. They'll make the neck kind of basically what you see there. But I don't know, because if you're going to be doing a small body, right, you know, this is pretty much what you're going to wind up with, which Jack Davis did do in some of his caricatures. If you've seen like some of his Time magazine covers or his TV guide covers, like he'll draw the body and then draw the legs like this. That's fine. But if I feel like I'm going to be doing a small body, what I usually do is kind of do something in between where I don't give them like a little popsicle neck. like that. I'll kind of do more something along those lines, and then from there it's a little bit more proportional to the body. Again, there's no wrong way. Either way is fine, but I'm just explaining what I'm planning on doing when I do the body. Probably not going to do that in this video. Just going to focus on the face. I'll work on the bodies later because I don't want to make this a super long video. So I'm just gonna work on the face here, and then I'm gonna go back and work on Kate's picture and try to sketch her out. All right, so I'm selecting my color layer. It's already got a flesh tone on it, so I'm gonna worry about selecting that. Using my paint bucket tool, hitting all the areas that I want. I think he's got blue eyes, pretty sure. Leave a little bit of white for the highlight. Alright. And he's got... It's kind of weird, his hair kind of... at least in the photo, it's kind of almost a gradient where it looks darker on the sides. And then it kind of lightens up as it reaches the top. So I'm going to use a dark brown on the sides and then a lighter brown on top, and then go in with my watercolor brush and kind of blend them together. And then I'm grabbing my watercolor brush right now. It's a Painterly Photoshop round outliner. I'm going to be using about a size 6 on that. And then I'm just going to be using a lighter brown to try to get that hairline, because it's thinning out, so I'm not going to be doing like a harsh line there. I might even make it even lighter at the top. Maybe with almost kind of like a yellow ochre kind of color. I don't like what I did there with those lines up top. They almost look like they're taken away from that light color, so I'm going to get rid of those. Get rid of those a little bit, and maybe go back in and just kind of put a few back in. Okay, going back to my colored layer, I'm going to be selecting a light brown for his eyebrows. He doesn't really have heavy eyebrows. Just going to kind of put a little smidgen of color in there. Alright, there's his head. I'm going to select with my magic wand the entire area of the flesh tone area, and I'm going to grab some darker flesh tone up here, and with my, is it size 8? I'm going to make it size 7, and I'm just kind of working in circular motions around the edge of his head there. For the darker areas around the eyes, I choose a different darker color there. Again, you're thinking about bringing out these shapes that you see. As much as possible. Think three-dimensionally when you're doing caricatures, and it'll really help you out a lot more if caricatures is something you want to do. Think three-dimensional. That's why a lot of great caricature artists are also sculptors. And they understand structure better. And I wish I knew how to sculpt. I never picked it up. I tried to do a few sculptures, but I don't know whether I was using the tools wrong or what, but they didn't quite turn out the way I hoped. They had too many fingerprints in them and everything, and I didn't know how to smooth everything out, make it smooth. There's probably some good YouTube videos out there that will tell you how to do it though. I'm just going back and forth with different variations of dark color. You know, some are more red than others, some are more brown, some are more orange. Just depends. I find that when I'm painting traditionally, burnt sienna really is a good shading color. So I try to use something along that equivalent whenever I'm doing digital. I feel like get a bigger brush. 20 should do it. His head kind of goes back a little bit at that top point. It kind of starts to recede back to kind of give it a round appearance. So I'm going to try to simulate that too with my shading. Of course, highlights help give the idea of shape. Some people have asked me why I decide to shade part of the eyes. Sometimes, depending on the lighting, the eyes are in shadow. I don't do it when I'm doing like live drawing at events or gigs or whatever. But I do feel like there needs to be some shading involved, because if the eyes are in shadow, they're not going to be perfectly white. Same thing with the color. I'm going to add a little bit of darker color there. I'm going to go up here. I feel like I need to darken the eyelashes a little bit, give them a little bit thicker eyelashes. There we go. Almost forgot about the ears. Those do have a lot of ruddiness to them, as they're not very thick, mostly cartilage, and they tend to have a redder appearance. Just going to throw some shading in there. Still not happy with that hairline. I'm going to go back over that a little bit. I might not even put any black lines there. That might help. Just go in with some colored line. Like so. All right, so that is Prince William. What I'm going to do, I bring that up like there. I'm going to create a separate file for him. Drop both the line layer and the color layer. And then I edit, transform scale. I can make his head as big as I want her. Let me actually go back and there we go. Just select that part. Then I can rotate it any way I want, depending on how I want his head to be. But I'll leave it there for now. Okay. Deselect. Not going to be needing his photo anymore. I'll also make that disappear. Alright, so let's create a new color layer for Princess Kate. I'm going to be using the same flesh tone that I used for Prince William. I'm going to bring our sketch layer back. Oops. Get rid of that old sketch. Bring up a picture of Princess Kate. Alright, so where do I begin with her? There's two ways I could possibly, well, there's a myriad number of ways I could go about it, but if I think that a face is going to give me a certain amount of trouble, I'll try to dissect it in two. I'll try to look at the relationship of the forehead area, you know, what's going on in the middle plane, and then what's going on down below. And right off the bat, I can see she's got a very sharp chin. So I'm going to do that. You know, her forehead is big enough, but it's not substantial enough to make it like huge like I do with Prince William. And also, she's got a very little button nose, like so. And her eyebrows are you know, fairly thick. Her eyes are not super close together, but not super far apart. Like I said, she doesn't have too much distinction to her face. Her upper lip is more prominent than her hubby's. She's got that dimple there. You know, thinking about the shape of the mouth. She's got a big smile, that's for sure. Very well known for her smile. Okay, so we'll start there. And if we want to adjust anything, we'll do so. All right. Let me go and do, let's see, a duplicate layer of that one. Bring that down. Clear it. And we'll use this as our ink layer. Very heavy eyelashes on Princess Kate. This song will make me draw faster, hopefully. Trying to pay attention to how squinty your eyes get too when she smiles. Certain amount of squint there. Again, heavy eyebrows. Button nose though, she's got a button nose. Don't even know if I'm going to do that top lip. I might just color it in because it's not very thick. She doesn't really have very thick lips. They're somewhat thin. Again, she's got those dimples in her cheeks. Don't want to make them too thick. This kind of goes like that, and then it goes in, and it goes out again. Paying attention to her gum line. Forehead. Hairline. Where's that ear come out? Little earring. Okay, just got kind of a tiara veil there, so I want to make sure to get that in. Again, where am I going to put the neck? Am I going to give her a little tiny neck? The big Arnold neck? Or medium-sized neck? I think medium size would be more appropriate. What do you think? I don't really like where I put that though. That's better. I'm not going to go too detailed with the tiara there, the crown. Is that a crown? I guess it is a crown. I'm not much into royalty. I'm into royalties, but not royalty. I'm all about royalties, though. You want to give me royalties, I'll gladly take them. Her veil kind of comes down over her hair. I'm exaggerating her shoulders. Most women will not have like linebacker shoulders. They'll almost taper in a way. You know, there's some definite differences. And no Adam's apple. That's another thing you'll notice. But yeah, she doesn't have really big shoulders. You know, I don't like to be a slave of the photo. Sometimes I'll just put the hair in front rather than in back, even though it's that way in the photograph. When you're an artist, you can do these sort of things, and if it looks better, I've actually had guests at Disney, and I'll say, would you like it behind the shoulder or over the shoulder? And they're fine with whatever looks best. If it looks better over the shoulder, then they'll say go right ahead and do it. You know, artistic prerogative. And then her hair she's got a little bit of a curl going there. I don't do curls, or at least I try not to do like individual stuff like that when I can. I try to do like figure out the general outline or the shape of the hair, and then work my way in from there. And that way it's a lot easier and faster, and then you can kind of feather the shadows to kind of give the idea of how it's curling. You see, like so. You know, feathering is an old comic book way of rendering hair, because there's always a certain amount of shine to it, and it gives it that gives it shape. Right? And her dress has got lots of little fun details and squiggles in there. I haven't drawn her irises yet. She's looking over at her hubby in the picture. I think it was John Singer Sargent, the great portrait painter, that said he puts the irises, or drops the irises, or the eyes, I forget what the exact quote was, inside of the eye area, like plopping eggs into one of those little poached egg container things. I'll have to look up that quote. I think I pretty much botched it. I don't like that eyebrow. That eyebrow is wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Fix it. Gotta pay attention to these things. Goes up, like almost like a Vulcan, somewhat. She might be part Vulcan, you never know. Oh, she's got too much emotion. She's too happy. Vulcans don't smile. All right, so we're gonna leave the drawing there, get rid of the sketch layer. Again, I can bring out the shape of her cheeks and whatnot when I decide to color in the rest. How we doing on time here? Let's see. Oh, we're doing all right, I guess. Got a few minutes left. Again, I don't want to take too much time with this. I'll delete that flesh tone. I forgot to add the other side of her veil. Let me go back and do that real quick. There we go. All right. Splash some white in there. Kind of white dress. Got dark brown hair. There we go. Her eyes are... Oof, I think they're blue. I can always go back and change it if I'm wrong. That's why whenever I take orders, I always say, tell me what your eye color is. If I'm working from a photo, I can't always tell what color your eyes are. Okay, so now I'm going to be shading around the dark areas, the shadows of the face. It'd help if I'm on the right layer. There we go. Somehow that didn't get selected. It's weird. That's alright. Just going to suggest that upper lip there with a little darker red color. Get that bottom lip color there. Give her some eyeshadow. Did I color in her gum area? By gum, I did not. I need to fix those lines a little bit. They're a little rough. When you're drawing small, you don't notice those little things. I usually don't draw this small, but for sake of demonstration, that's what I did. Okay, there we go. Alright, so I'm gonna put in the highlights here to bring out the shape. Get on the right layer, Jimmy. There we go. See, if I go on this layer, my ink layer, it only does black. No matter what I use, let's say I selected red, if I'm on the pen layer, it still comes out black. So if I want color, I have to be on that color layer. And that way it doesn't lend itself to me coloring on the wrong layer. Don't really like that shadow under her lip. Just smooth that out a little bit. Naturally, there's going to be a little bit of a shadow there from the head. There's that dip there. You know, I don't know any of the names, the anatomical names. I mean, I know a few, but like I have no idea what that little indentation is there. You know, it's. But I know it's there. That's the important part. If any of you know out there the name for that, you can always type it in the comments section. Educate me. I need to learn. We all need to learn. That's the great thing about art. You never stop learning. You never stop picking up things. You know, there's so much out there on social media. There's so many great artists to follow on Instagram and just learn stuff from. That's really why I'm doing this video. I'm not, you know, I am doing it as a promotional thing of sorts, but mostly I just want to share what I've learned with those of you out there that want to pick up caricature. And you may not like the way I do certain things. You may be like, oh, I like this way better. And that works for you, that's fine. You know? There's a lot of different styles out there that are great. And as long as people know who it is, at the end of the day, mission accomplished. All right, I think that's where I'm going to stop. You know, once I do the dress, I'll shade in the veil and all of that good stuff. But that's kind of my process for doing the face of the caricature. What I'll do is I'll shrink it down like I did with Prince William, and I'll go in on my line layer and I'll draw in the body, go to my color layer, fill in the color, and that's pretty much the way it's done. It's a really fun process. I am using Clipstudio Pro for the iPad Pro and the iPad Pencil. So thank you for watching again, and hopefully in the future maybe I'll do some more videos, but for now